You will never be enough.
Wow, that's a really hard thing to hear from your partner's parents when you're first meeting them. Oh, crikey. So today I'm reacting to Crazy Rich Asians, which is an amazing movie that I really enjoy. And especially how Rachel overcomes anxiety about meeting her partner's family and friends.
His name is Nick Young.
I love the family split take. And they're like, what?
The Nick you're dating is Nick Young?
His best friend.
You are invited to Colin Cole's wedding, ah?
Yeah, you guys know them or something?
The Youngs are like royalty.
Wow.
Did you not know? Does she not know?
I'm gonna meet them tonight. I'm going to Nick's grandma's house.
You're going to Nick's grandma's house wearing this? Wearing that?
Oh, no. So she's turned up in Singapore. She's going to meet Nick's family and friends. And she has no idea really who he is back in Singapore. She maybe even thinks that he's from a poor family because he hasn't talked about his family. And she's going in just completely blind. She doesn't know what she's going to encounter. And here she's with her friend and she's mentioned his name, and her friend, Pek Lin, knows who he is. And she is shocked that she doesn't. And now she has to try and figure out how to go forward. And the lucky dress she picked out might not be so lucky because it's not going to match up to the standard that these people have.
People are so posh and snobby. They're snotty. Ew.
Yeah, but Nick's not like that.
Even if he isn't, I guarantee you the family is. Which is why tonight, you need to not look like Sebastian of The Little Mermaid.
Oh dear. So right into the fire there. She's arriving and she doesn't know. And understandably the nerves are picking up and she's going, oh, well, Nick's not like that. But it's starting, you can see it's starting to dawn on her that something bigger is happening here than just meeting the folks, which is nerve-wracking enough as it is. Like meeting somebody's parents and family for the first time, especially if you really like them and you want them to like you. But to find out you're basically dating royalty and you didn't know is pretty full on.
Rachel, it was lovely meeting you.
Thank you, you too.
Yeah. She hates me.
Takes a little minute to warm up, but I'll get there.
Oh man, the difficulty of meeting his mother and the awkward interactions of she tries to hug her at one point and she's not into that. And it's really, seems to be really tricky for her. And even though there's that politeness, you know, it was lovely to meet you, the undercurrent is very clear that it's not. And I don't think she's being, sometimes with social anxiety we can overthink the way people respond to us. I don't think that's the case here.
Let's just forget about those girls. Camp out here and order room service.
Oh, whoa. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's so gross. On your bed too. Oh,
No. I'm not gonna make a scene.
that's an interesting choice.
I'm not gonna give him the satisfaction.
Wow. Okay, that is just, catch this, you gold digging. Wow. So it's that thing again of them acting nice and then being like, it's the two-faced thing that I think is really tricky here, is you think you're doing well and then you realize what's really going on underneath. It's quite a nasty environment that she's come into. But I think it's really interesting that she's being quite strong there and being like, I'm not going to make a scene, I'm not going to give them the satisfaction, I'm not going to react because that's exactly what they want. So she's very smart in how she's dealing with this.
I thought I was here to meet your family, go to your best friend's wedding, eat some good food. Instead, I feel like I'm a villain in a soap opera who's plotting to steal your family fortune.
I love that. Oh, that's just, and it does seem to be that's the way that people are responding to her. She's turned up with completely, just like that she's coming to a wedding. She had no idea who he was. And so she has none of these nefarious schemes for him. And then everyone has this picture of who she is and what she's wanting. Because she doesn't come from money, she must be trying to steal his wealth. Whereas in reality, she had no idea. It's a tricky situation. It's hard when people have negative assumptions about you, when you're just existing, and then they come up with these things, especially when they're not true.
You asked about my ring. The truth is, Nick's father had it made when he wanted to propose to me because Amma wouldn't give him the family ring. I wasn't her first choice. Honestly, I wasn't her second.
It's really good to get that insight. It was great that she was able to open up to her about that ring, because she compliments the ring and then things go cold and everyone's awkward. And so to understand what that ring represents, actually how his mother was rejected, how his mother was not approved of by the family, and how what she has had to go through. And it's really good for them to kind of connect on that, actually, even though the mother's not being very accepting.
But having been through it all, I know this much.
It's a touching moment.
You will never be enough.
Or not. Oh my gosh. What a thing to say to someone. You will never be enough. Like, just trying to think of why someone would say something like that. I'm guessing maybe if I have really positive assumptions for her, she's trying to set up for Rachel that actually coming into this family is probably not going to work for her, because the family is probably never going to accept her. But it's that intensive judgment. Oh man, that's rough. That's really, and that's the last thing you really want to hear from your partner's mother, is that sort of thing, like, ooh, that's really hard.
Wait, what? Was she like, you will never be good enough for my son? Or was it like, you will never be good enough for my son?
It's like the second one, except for in a way that made me want to like cry and puke at the same time.
God, she's so
Nerves
badass.
there. Yeah, so she definitely had nerves about and anxiety, and that anxiety response to being saying. And when we hear things like that sort of shaming, you are not good enough, it's understandable to have that nervous, anxious reaction to it, especially because rejection socially, we forget how important, especially in the past, primitively, being a part of a social group was to do with our survival. And so it's understandable that we react almost like our life is threatened when we get rejected socially. And that's why social rejection is so hard. And so it's understandable that her body has reacted in this way to that rejection.
She looked at me like I was nothing.
Oh. And that's that thing as well, the shame, the belittling, the worthlessness being communicated, both verbally and in her, just the way she was looking at her. I don't think, like, often with social anxiety, you might think and assume really negative things that people are thinking of you. In this case, I think she's really spot on. Unfortunately, the mother is very critical, and she's both with her words and her actions and her mannerisms saying, you are not good enough. So I don't think there's any exaggeration here. She's hit the nail on the head, but it's really hard.
I feel like I shouldn't even go to the wedding. I feel like I should just sit it out, tell Nick I had food poisoning or something.
Avoidance. So she's anxious and she's struggling, and being around the family is bringing up anxiety and difficult feelings for her. So it's understandable that she wants to escape the situation and avoid. And actually the food poisoning thing, one time there was an event I really didn't want to go to, and I couldn't think of how I could get out of it. I didn't feel like I could say, at the time I didn't have very good boundaries, so I didn't think I could say that I just didn't want to go. So I had this idea that I might even go to this kids' playground called Jungle Rama and like lick the handrails and stuff to try and get like a vomiting bug. I was that desperate to get out of this event. It was then that I was like, oh my gosh, if I'm going to go to that extreme, maybe I should just go learn how to actually tell people that I don't want to do something.
That's bullshit. You're just scared.
I'm not.
Okay.
Yeah, she is.
Here's what you need to understand, all right? It's not about getting Eleanor to like you. It's about getting her to respect you.
Yeah, she's like trying to play a game of chicken with me. Where she's like coming at me and like thinking I'm gonna swerve like a chicken.
But you can't swerve.
I'm not gonna swerve, not for her.
No, chickens are bitches, dude.
And I'm not a chicken.
You're not a chicken. You gonna roll up to that wedding. You gonna be like, bok bok, bitch.
Bok bok, bitch.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Oh, it's so funny. But it's so cool. Like, I love how Peklin pulls her up on the fear. You know, you're just scared. And she's scared. And I think pointing that out and being like, don't do that. Like, you've just got to get that respect from her. And it's interesting, she also goes, which I've cut out, but she talks about how, you know, how the mother's viewing her, but she's not seeing the smart, you know, professor of game theory who she really is. She's not seeing her for who she really is, and that she needs to show the mother that. And that, yeah, I love that she's now using her skills with the game theory to turn that around and to not be scared of the mother and actually to play the game and to come with courage. And I love that that's the next thing we see.
Ladies.
There she is. Woo! That's amazing.
Amanda. You're in my way.
Oh. Yeah! Yeah! Standing up to the mean girls. Whoop! For the win. Oh my gosh, I love that. And this is the thing, is when we turn it around, when we start acting with courage and we start doing the things we're scared of, the power, the feeling of invincibility that can come with that is just amazing. And what she did, and it people don't know how to respond to that when you've been kind of running in fear or acting quite submissively. To turn around and actually be confident and assertive puts people off balance, like Amanda there. But it's really cool to see. And sometimes when we face things, they disappear away from us. So often that happens with fears. Meeting with the mother.
Rachel, how lovely to see you.
The pleasure is all mine.
Oh, the niceties.
I'm sorry. Our row is full.
Yeah, as if. Yeah. I love that. Not gonna be a chicken.
Princess Intan.
Wow. So she can't sit with his family. And then she sees the princess, who we've heard before has asked for an entire row to herself so she doesn't have to interact with anybody. And here she is marching up to her, which is funnily potentially quite American in their eyes. But it's really cool to see her not hiding away, but really putting herself out there.
Rachel Chu, I read your great article about microloans in the Asian Economics Journal.
I received so much criticism about that article.
Well, you know what?
the response.
I think your critics missed the point. Because your microloans help women, and women lift up economies.
What is your name again?
Such a cool interaction.
Rachel Chu.
She's being herself.
It's a
She's
pleasure.
talking about what she knows, economics, and yeah. Oh, that's really cool.
I'm sure she'll be at the back somewhere, laying low.
Wrong.
It's right at the front. Take a look.
She's talking to the princess.
I think you've got to fight her.
Oh, that's really awesome. That's so cool.
What's all this about?
Rachel，虽然我认识你的日子不长，可我看得出来，你是个聪明人。
That's nice.
可我不能让你毁了我的孙子跟我的家。
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
sorry to tell you, but Rachel has been lying to us about her family and her mother.
What are you talking
I
about?
hired a private investigator
Mum,
to
you
look
didn't.
into her past.
Now that is really overstepping the boundaries. It's one thing to, disapprove of somebody and be getting to know them, but Hire a private investigator. Oh my gosh, yeah, that's not okay to look into her and that sort of things. I guess the difficulty is that they are a very wealthy family, and so they potentially could have taken advantage of, but not to even let the son know that they wanted to not look into her and make sure she was okay. Ugh, yuck. That's not a nice thing to do to somebody.
We cannot be linked to this sort of family.
I don't want any part of your family.
Fair enough. Yeah, good call. Oh my gosh. Yeah, they're saying, you know, we don't want to be linked to you, but she's seen the awful side of this family and this group and how nasty and just awful they can be and judgmental, and understandably she's out. You know, there's the courage and then there's the actually going, I don't want this, and I think it's courageous to make that sort of stand too.
I'm really sorry.
Oh, don't be sorry. You listen to me. Everything that happened in my past life is the reason why I got you.
Oh.
My brave and clever girl.
Oh my gosh, what a difference her mother to his mother is, and she needed that. And especially after hearing how she was born and her mother's past, that guilt of on a child of being, you know, the product of an affair, that and her trying to escape a horrible abusive husband and wanting to keep the child safe, so not getting in contact with the man that she'd fallen in love with, you know, feeling that responsibility. It's really awesome that her mum turned around and went, no, stop it. You don't need to apologize for existing. I want you and I love you, and everything that happened to me meant that I got you, and that's the most important thing. So I love how her mother gets to turn this around for her and really push back. You are valuable, you are worthy, and you are loved. And I love that she's now able to stand in that.
But you didn't like me the second I got here. Why is that?
Now, it's very hard to turn around to someone and actually ask them a question about their behaviour, especially when they're being quite deceptive and that they're saying one thing and sort of acting nice, but then saying horrible things like you're not worthy and all this sort of stuff. You know, it's very courageous to turn around and say, hey, I've noticed this, can you explain to me why? Because it's really vulnerable, because they might say things that are hurtful and hard to hear. But if you don't ask that question, you just assume and you run through your head why they think those things. And I found it actually, even though it's hard, sometimes really helpful to be able to ask those questions. For people, some people find it very difficult that I ask those sort of questions. I call them out and I say, I want to know. Rather, I'm not going to make this up, I'm going to get the answer. And I love that she's done that.
There is a Hokkien phrase, "Gakilang." It means our own kind of people. And you're not our own kind.
Because I'm not rich? Because I didn't go to a British boarding school, or I wasn't born into a wealthy family?
So she's communicated that it's because you're not like us. And then she's got all these assumptions of how she's not like them. She's not rich. She didn't go to a boarding school, you know, she wasn't born into a wealthy family. And so it's really good that she's clarifying these assumptions she has, and they're actually wrong.
You're a foreigner, American, and all Americans think about is their own happiness.
So it's interesting because she thinks it's all about the wealth thing, but actually it's about, is she able to put others first? Is she only about her own happiness, or is she able to realize that there's a wider ecosystem, there's a bigger family to look after and to make some sacrifices for? Is she willing to make sacrifices? Which we'll see if she is.
I'm not leaving because I'm scared.
Yes.
Or because I think I'm not enough.
Good.
Because Maybe for the first time in my life, I know I am.
Yay! Ah,
I just love Nick so much.
that's so awesome.
I don't want him to lose his mom again.
Look at her face. Oh my goodness. That registering how much she is caring for her son, and by stepping back and allowing him to have his relationship with his mother. And it's really cool that she has figured out what's important to her, and she's not just running or avoiding out of fear like she was almost about to do by not going to the wedding. She is making a choice, and it's a difficult choice to let go of something that someone she cares about, to say no to Nick when she probably would really like to marry the guy because she really cares about him and loves him and they have a great relationship. But she knows what's important, and she doesn't want to separate him from his family, and so she's making a conscious choice to leave rather than just running from something hard, which I think is really cool. And she's knowing her value as well. She's in her value. It's not that she's going, I'm not good enough for this family. She's I am valuable, but I'm not going to do this to Nick. And I think that's just really cool.
Wherever you are in the world, that's where I belong.
But
The ring! That's the mother's ring. That's the mother's ring. So she approves.
True. Will you marry me? And make me the happiest man in this world?
yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's really lovely. And you can see her just about to respond, I can't do that, I've already said no. But when she sees that ring, because the thing that was holding her back was knowing that him and his mum would be separated again if he went through with the wedding with her, that had put a wall up between him and his mum. To see that ring and know that she approves, that she got the respect, and she earned that, and it's just really beautiful. It's so cool. I love that bit. I love when he opens that box and that ring is there. Spot's mum. That look, that acknowledgement. Yep. Oh my gosh, that's such a lovely ending, and it's a rom-com, so we have that happy ending, but I love that respect between the mother and her, and she has his mum on her side, and that's so cool. It's a beautiful ending. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please like and subscribe to this video. If you are working through anxiety and you would love to get some help, we actually have an amazing video that can take you through our process, scientifically researched, to help people to get through their anxiety, and so that anxiety doesn't need to stop you and make you avoid the things that are most important. They get you to be courageous enough to live your life in a way that matches with your values and means that you get what you really want in life. And we've got a video for you just below, so click on that. It's going to help you out, and yeah, see you next time. That look, that acknowledgement. Yep. Oh my gosh.